Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. Explore 3 more enthralling accounts that challenge the linearity of human life, inviting us to explore the notion of intermingling alternate lives in parallel universes. Join Derek and Bridget as they navigate perplexing shifts in their personal history, Jared's miraculous reset in the face of a deadly misstep, and Samantha's morning awakening to a subtle yet profoundly different world. Relationship rewrite. Derek Finch, a 26-year-old PhD student in computer science, and his girlfriend Bridget McAllister, 25, had been living together in a small apartment in the city for over 2 years. Their relationship seemed perfectly normal until the start of the pandemic lockdowns in March 2020, when John started noticing some strange changes in Bridget's behaviour and memories. The first incident occurred about 3 weeks into the lockdown. For their entire relationship, Bridget had always drank her morning coffee black, often criticising John for adding sugar to his own drinks and meals. But one morning, John was shocked to see Bridget adding 2 teaspoons of sugar to her coffee. When he asked her about this sudden change, Bridget looked confused and insisted she had always taken her coffee that way. John brushed it off as a one-time mistake, but was troubled when the same exact scenario played out the next morning and for many mornings after. Several days later, another peculiar event transpired in the bedroom. The couple had experimented with a certain possession in the bedroom early on in their relationship, but quickly discarded it after Bridget complained it caused her pain. Out of the blue, Bridget suggested trying this position again. John gently reminded her of the discomfort it had caused her before, but Bridget adamantly denied this, claiming John must be remembering an ex-girlfriend. Though initially sceptical, John went along with Bridget's wishes, and to his surprise, she enjoyed the experience this time. But the most bizarre occurrence happened one afternoon in late April. Bridget asked John about a male co-worker from his, quote, company, except John had never even met, let alone mentioned such a person, and had never even held a job outside of academia. When John pressed Bridget for details, she doubled down, insisting John was always talking about this mystery colleague in his company. However, John had never worked for any company during their relationship, nor could he recall anyone even fitting Bridget's description. John was struck silent, having no idea how to make sense of Bridget's manufactured memories. The couple stared at each other in fearful confusion, before Bridget became tearful, distraught over this breakdown in both her own mind and now, seemingly, their relationship. John and Bridget consulted their families, but found no history of mental illness that could explain Bridget's or potentially John's false recollections. At a loss for how to proceed, John described their situation online, where commenters suggested possible carbon monoxide poisoning from a leak in their apartment. The couple informed their landlord, who arranged for detectors to be installed along with a vent check. Though Bridget and John had recently received clean bills of health, they scheduled full physical and neurological exams to rule out any medical factors. A psychiatric evaluation was also planned to probe the cause behind Bridget's fabricated memories. The two continued living together warily as they awaited answers, neither knowing what to make of the changes overtaking Bridget. For John, it felt like he was living with a different person entirely, an imposter in his girlfriend's body who shared only superficial similarities with the woman he had fallen in love with. A life-resetting leap. In September 2015, 14-year-old Jared Thompson began his freshman year of high school in his hometown of Lakeside, Oregon. The pressures of his classes soon had Jared seeking solace in long, thoughtful walks around a nearby lake after school. He would amble around the perimeter, then ascend a set of abandoned train tracks running perpendicular to the trail, towering some 15 feet above. One crisp autumn afternoon, Jared set out on his typical route, craving an ice cream to lift his spirits. As he crossed the train tracks, the quickest path to the ice cream shop sat below his vantage point on the opposite side of the lake. Not wanting to double back, the impulsive teen decided to jump down to the path, underestimating the distance. Jared hit the ground hard, immediately losing consciousness. When he came to, he found himself being wheeled into an ambulance, its sirens piercing the air. Both his legs throbbed in severe agony, surely broken from the fall. The emergency crew sounded worried as they sped Jared to the hospital. He slipped in and out of awareness, catching blurry glimpses of the sterile emergency room before blacking out completely on the operating table. What felt like hours later, Jared suddenly regained consciousness back at the scene, having just hit the ground after jumping. This time, the pain was considerably less severe, and he remained fully aware. Nearby, pedestrians who had witnessed the fall rushed over, having called 911, believing it to be an attempt to end his own life. Though dazed, Jared reassured them that he had simply misjudged the jump. When the ambulance arrived, the entire scene played out identically to Jared's vivid seeming memory. The panicked paramedics, the jarring sirens, the disorienting emergency room. Only this time around, his injuries were comparatively minor. Stitches in his busted lip, a mildly fractured jaw, and concussion. After examination, doctors discharged Jared that same evening. For weeks he wrote off the more traumatic vision as an unconscious dream. It wasn't until his mother later recounted how witnesses said Jared had been awake the whole time that he began questioning his experience. The first agonising run-through of the experience had apparently unfolded in the seconds it took Jared to hit the ground before he lost awareness. His life had essentially been reset just prior to the fleeting moments before impact, after passing out in the emergency room. Now 22, Jared still cannot explain what transpired on that miraculous night. His potentially fatal ordeal somehow reversed itself, sparing him severe injuries and perhaps even his life. While doctors called it a fortuitous recovery, Jared believes he entered an alternate reality where his careless jump proved less dire. Jared has not dared to share his uncanny experience publicly before now, but finding a community of those who have encountered similar glitches has given him the courage to come forward. He hopes that by recounting his own unexplainable phenomenon, others with bizarre accounts will feel less alone. Though Jared may never fully comprehend what forces returned him to an alternate version of reality unscathed, he feels compelled to finally give voice to the unbelievable occurrence that gave him a second chance to go on living. Overnight overhaul. On a typical Wednesday morning in early February 2020, 25-year-old Samantha Hodge embarked on her regular commute to her job at a women's addiction treatment facility in her hometown of Springfield, Illinois. Her first stop was the corner gas station, which she frequented daily on her way to work. But upon entering, Samantha was startled to find the interior completely renovated, with new drink stations and food areas that were not there the previous day. Even more perplexing was the outside, where 2 gas pumps had vanished and been replaced by stacks of mulch bags. Samantha could not fathom how such dramatic renovations could have occurred overnight. Shaken, Samantha got back in her car, but soon became lost on the familiar streets she had been navigating for months. By the time she arrived at the rehab centre, 20 minutes late, Samantha was in a full panic. Beginning to doubt if this was her own reality, she frantically called her fiancé Alex and asked him to confirm an inside joke they had together. But Alex had no idea what Samantha was talking about, even though they had shared the joke as recently as a few weeks prior. On her drive that afternoon, Samantha was horrified to find a grove of trees planted smack in the middle of a block where 4 houses had stood just the day before. The missing homes had been right beside a building which had been owned by Samantha's family for over 20 years. Samantha knew this neighbourhood like the back of her hand, and these sudden differences made no sense. The final straw was a call to Samantha's mother, who mentioned her other daughter Amy was spending time with her old friend Jenna that night. Samantha vividly remembered Amy announcing Jenna's pregnancy back in 2018, but her mum had no knowledge of this, and a shocked Amy later said that in fact Jenna was infertile. Samantha also found zero evidence online of her ever having been pregnant. Samantha reached out online for help making sense of the dramatic shifts in her reality. She knew it sounded absurd, but she truly felt she had woken up in a parallel world overnight where details large and small had been altered. Fearing she was losing her mind, Samantha underwent testing for schizophrenia, with the evaluation suggesting that she was unlikely to have it. Friends and family were sympathetic, but unable to account for the discrepancies Samantha identified. The gas station and neighbourhood changes could be chalked up to construction projects and faulty memory, but the missing pregnancy announcement and forgotten inside joke with her fiancé were harder for Samantha to rationalise. Whatever the cause, it was clear Samantha was the only one perceiving these differences. Years later, Samantha has adjusted to her new reality, even if she still grapples with the mystery of what caused the dramatic divergence. She wonders if her timeline split off in some great cosmic shift, placing her in a parallel existence where her memories no longer align. With no means of confirmation, Samantha has accepted that her unsettling experience will likely remain forever unexplained, but she takes comfort in moving forward with Alex at her side, keeping wary and watching for any more cracks in the fabric of her new reality.